Hey everyone, welcome back to TLC Uncovered, the only channel that brings you the stories the network didn't want you to see. Today, we're diving into what may be the most shocking revelation yet in the Brown family saga, a story that didn't break through tabloid headlines or TLC confessionals. This one came quietly. It started with a single post. A picture of a baby. And a caption that sent the entire Sister Wives fanbase into a frenzy. Welcome to the world, little one, our miracle. The problem? No one, not even Kody Brown, knew that this baby was coming. That's right, multiple insiders have now confirmed that one of Kody Brown's daughters concealed her entire pregnancy from him. No phone calls. No updates. No baby shower invitations. Nothing. And according to people close to the family, Janelle and Meri Brown knew, and chose to stay silent. If that sounds unbelievable, buckle up. Because what you're about to hear is a detailed, step-by-step account of how a daughter's quiet act of rebellion became a symbol of everything broken inside the Brown family. But before we begin, you know the drill. If you believe that every woman in this story deserves her truth heard, if you're tired of the hypocrisy, the gaslighting, and the manipulation, then take 1 second, hit that like button until it turns blue, and subscribe to TLC Uncovered. Trust me, you'll want to be here when we break down the aftermath of this revelation in part 2, because it's darker than anyone imagined. Alright, let's get into it. To understand why this secret pregnancy mattered so much, we have to go back, not to the court case, not to Coyote Pass, but to 2021, the year the Brown family officially fractured. By then, Christine had left. Janelle was emotionally halfway out the door. Meri was surviving in the shadows of denial. And Robin? She was still standing behind Kody, the self-proclaimed patriarch of polygamy. Kody's relationships with his older children were already in shambles, especially with his adult daughters. The tension wasn't just about religion or plural marriage. It was about control. Kody wanted loyalty. His kids wanted autonomy. And in that tug-of-war, something snapped. One daughter, whose name we're withholding out of respect, made a decision. She was pregnant. And she wasn't going to tell her father. Not because of shame. Not because she wanted to start drama. But because, as one insider put it, she didn't want Kody turning her child's birth into a lecture about loyalty. According to this same source, Janelle found out early, weeks before the family did. But instead of telling Kody, she kept quiet. She just said, "That's her story to tell, not mine," the insider revealed. And that's when Meri found out too, but her reaction surprised everyone. She didn't call Kody either. She didn't even text him. Instead, she reached out privately to the daughter and offered something Kody hadn't in years: support without judgment. She told her, "Do what's right for you. Don't let fear make your decisions." From that moment, the secret was sealed. 4 months, no one said a word. No producers. No family members outside the loop. No leaks. And when the baby finally arrived, it wasn't a public announcement, it was a whisper that spread like wildfire through private group chats and fan circles. And when Kody found out? It wasn't from his daughter. It was from a fan tag on social media. According to one source, he exploded. Not just because of the secret, but because it proved what he feared most: he'd lost control of his family. Next, we'll walk you inside that confrontation, what Kody said to Janelle, what Janelle said back, and how Meri's quiet defiance pushed the family further apart than ever before. Because this wasn't just about a baby. It was about a father realizing the empire he built had finally turned to sand. When the news finally reached Kody Brown, it didn't come from a phone call, a text, or even one of his wives. It came from the internet. According to insiders, Kody was scrolling through social media when he saw the photo, his daughter holding her newborn, surrounded by friends, smiling, radiant, captioned with words that felt like a knife to his ego: surrounded by love. The photo had already gone viral among Sister Wives fans. Comment sections were flooded with shock, congratulations, and confusion. But for Kody, one emotion overpowered all the rest: rage. Witnesses say that within minutes, he was on the phone, calling Janelle. And that call, according to sources, was not calm. Kody started yelling before Janelle even picked up, the insider explained. He wanted answers, and he wanted them now. Janelle, however, wasn't having it. Kody, she said firmly, you are not entitled to every secret in this family. But that only made things worse. He accused her of betrayal, of being disloyal, of keeping him out of his own daughter's life. You don't hide a pregnancy from the father, he shouted. Janelle replied, her tone controlled but cutting, you're not her father anymore, Kody. Not in the way that matters. That line hit him like a sledgehammer. For years, Kody had measured his worth in control over his wives, his kids, even the family narrative on TV. And for the first time, someone had taken that control away from him completely. He demanded to know who else knew, and that's when Janelle told him, Meri did. The line went silent for several seconds. Then came the voice fans have heard countless times, the frustrated, defensive, self-righteous tone. Meri, he barked. Of course she did. She's always been against me. But what happened next, no one expected. Instead of calling Meri to confront her, Kody called Robyn. According to our source, he needed comfort, not truth. He stormed into Robyn's room, pacing, ranting about betrayal, about how his family had turned on him. Robyn, ever the peacekeeper, tried to calm him down. Maybe she was scared, Kody. Maybe it wasn't about you. But that made him angrier. It's always about me, he said. Everything that happens in this family comes back to me. And they all know it. He didn't realize how right and wrong that statement was. Because for the first time in Brown family history, the women weren't talking about him. They were talking about protecting each other. Meri, Janelle, and the daughter who hid her pregnancy had quietly built something Kody no longer understood, solidarity. It wasn't rebellion. It was healing. But Kody couldn't see that. All he saw was betrayal. And in classic Kody fashion, he did what he's always done when faced with truth he can't control, he tried to rewrite the story. Within 48 hours, Kody reportedly called multiple producers from TLC, pitching a reunion special that would allow him to clarify misconceptions. He wanted the cameras back. He wanted the attention back. He wanted control back. But for the first time, the network wasn't interested. They told him the audience didn't want another apology tour, the insider shared. They wanted accountability. That night, Kody called Janelle again, this time not to yell, but to plead. How long have you known, he asked. Months, she said. Why didn't you tell me? Because she didn't want you to turn it into a lesson about respect. He was quiet for a moment. Then came the whisper, she's my daughter. And Janelle's reply, gentle but final, then start acting like her father again. The call ended there. But that wasn't the last conversation about the secret pregnancy. Because a few days later, Meri would break her silence, and her words would hit harder than any courtroom testimony ever could. In the next part, we'll uncover the private meeting between Meri and Kody, what she told him about the daughter he'd lost, and why her final words left him speechless. This wasn't just a conversation between ex-spouses. It was the final mirror held up to a man who no longer recognized his own reflection. It was a gray, quiet afternoon in Flagstaff when Meri finally agreed to see Kody. No cameras. No producers. No Robyn. Just two people who used to call each other husband and wife, now sitting across from each other like strangers divided by years of silence. Kody arrived first. He was restless, tapping his keys against the table, rehearsing his anger like a man preparing for battle. But when Meri walked in, calm and unbothered, something in his posture changed. She looked composed, not angry, not emotional, just steady. She greeted him softly, Kody, and sat down. He didn't waste time. Why didn't you tell me, he snapped. Why did you keep it from me? You knew. Meri didn't flinch. Because it wasn't my story to tell. He leaned forward. I'm her father. I had a right to know. You stopped being her father when you stopped listening, Meri said quietly. That sentence landed like a thunderclap. For a moment, Kody didn't move. He looked away, jaw clenched. You're turning everyone against me. You, Janelle, Christine, you've all poisoned my kids. Meri shook her head slowly. No one needed to poison them, Kody. They just grew up. The tension hung thick in the air. Every word she spoke cut deeper than the last, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. Meri continued, you built a family that revolved around loyalty to you, not love, not truth, not partnership. When that loyalty broke, you blamed everyone but yourself. Kody scoffed. You don't know what it's like carrying all that responsibility. She leaned in slightly. I carried it too. We all did. But you turned it into a weapon. For years, fans had seen Meri as the quiet one, the compliant wife who stayed long after the love was gone. But in that room, something was different. She wasn't seeking Kody's approval anymore. She was standing in her own truth. He tried to steer the conversation back. You and Janelle should have told me about the baby. You both knew. Meri took a breath. She didn't owe you that. You made your daughters afraid to share their lives with you. That's not family, Kody, that's fear. Kody leaned back, shaking his head. You always twist things. No, she said. You twist things to make yourself the victim. Her tone was calm, measured, but the words landed like stone. For a long pause, the only sound was the hum of the ceiling fan above them. Kody broke the silence first. Do you hate me? He asked suddenly, his voice lower, almost human for once. Meri didn't answer right away. No, she said finally. I don't hate you. I just stopped waiting for you to change. Kody looked down at the table, as if trying to find something to hold on to. She could have told me, he muttered, almost to himself. I would have been happy. Meri tilted her head slightly. Would you? Or would you have made it about how disrespected you felt? He didn't answer. She continued, you think being left out was the betrayal, but the truth is, Kody, the betrayal was making them believe love had to be earned. That broke him. For the first time in years, Kody didn't have a rebuttal. He just stared, blinking fast, his jaw tightening to hide the emotion behind his eyes. Meri stood up, gently gathering her purse. You'll always be their father, she said. But being a father is something you have to do, not something you get to demand. Then, without another word, she walked out. According to a source close to the family, that was the last private meeting between Meri and Kody. No cameras. No follow-ups. No closure scenes. Just silence. After that day, Kody reportedly stopped reaching out to both Janelle and the daughter who had the baby. He told Robin he needed time to process the betrayal. But behind the scenes, that time only deepened the distance. Because while Kody was stewing in resentment, the rest of the family was healing in peace. And that's when TLC came calling. They'd caught wind of the pregnancy, and more importantly, the reaction. Producers wanted to film a special reunion episode. But what they didn't expect was Janelle's response, and the bombshell she dropped that changed everything. In the next part, we'll reveal how TLC tried to spin the story on camera, and how Janelle turned their manipulation into one final truth bomb that stunned the network. It didn't take long for TLC to catch wind of what had happened. A secret pregnancy. A furious father. Two ex-wives breaking their silence. For the network, it was gold. Ratings gold. Within days, producers were on the phone with both Janelle and Meri, pitching what they called a special redemption episode, a one-off reunion that would, in their words, give everyone a chance to tell their side of the story. But Janelle wasn't fooled. They didn't want our side, she later told a friend. They wanted Kody's meltdown. Behind closed doors, TLC executives were in panic mode. The network had built a decade of programming on the image of Kody Brown, the confident, chaotic, patriarchal figure who kept his plural family together against all odds. But now? The story was collapsing faster than they could control it. Emails leaked later showed producers using words like damage control, sympathy edit, and limited exposure for non-contract talent. Translation? They wanted to make Kody look misunderstood, not guilty. But when they reached out to Janelle, she set her boundary crystal clear. I'll sit for an interview, she said, but I'm not lying for him. Meri, for her part, didn't even hesitate. She told producers flat out, if you're calling this a redemption story, make sure you know whose redemption it is. That line hit hard. Because what TLC didn't realize was that this wasn't just another family fight, it was the death of their narrative. When filming began, Kody arrived first. He came in wearing a dark jacket, his hair pulled back, eyes cold and tired. The crew described him as combative before cameras even started rolling. He demanded final approval of the footage. He wanted his words pre-screened. He wanted control, the one thing he no longer had. The producers gave him the usual warm-up questions. How are you feeling? What was your reaction when you found out about the baby? Kody sighed dramatically, eyes glassy. It hurt, he said. I wasn't told. I wasn't trusted. But I'm a forgiving man. I just hope my daughter learns to respect her father again. Classic Kody, deflect, dramatize, disguise. But when Janelle sat down, the tone of the entire room changed. She didn't posture. She didn't cry. She spoke with calm precision. I'm not here to tell anyone how to feel, she began. But I will say this, you can't abandon your children emotionally and then act shocked when they stop sharing their lives with you. The room went silent. Even the sound engineer stopped adjusting the levels. A producer quickly tried to pivot. But don't you think this could have been an opportunity to bring the family closer? Janelle's reply was razor sharp. You can't build closeness on denial. That line was so powerful, TLC didn't air it. According to an insider who worked in post-production, they cut every line that made Kody look accountable. They spliced her statements to sound like she was conflicted, not firm. They wanted to soften the blow. But it didn't work. Because before the episode even aired, the raw footage leaked. Someone on the inside, tired of the manipulation, sent the unedited audio to a small fan-run podcast. Within 24 hours, it had gone viral. Fans heard the truth, Janelle's calm dismantling of Kody's excuses, her acknowledgement of the daughter's right to privacy, and her refusal to play along with the network's script. The hashtags exploded, hashtag let Janelle speak, hashtag TLC unfiltered, hashtag justice for the daughters, TLC scrambled. They issued takedown notices, deleted clips, blocked comments. But it was too late. The internet had the receipts, again. Meri saw the fallout unfold from her quiet Utah home. She didn't post, didn't comment, didn't engage. But she did send Janelle one message that fans later learned about through a leaked text. You did what I couldn't do for years, you told the truth while the cameras were still rolling. And that single sentence spread faster than any episode the network had ever aired. The fans didn't want sister wives anymore. They wanted truth wives. And as the pressure mounted, TLC executives realized the show's old formula, control the edit, protect the patriarch, wasn't going to work anymore. So they made one final gamble. They called Kody, told him there would be a tell-all special. He'd get the last word. He'd get to set the record straight. What they didn't tell him was that Janelle and Meri would be watching from backstage, live. In the next part, we'll take you inside that filming, the tension, the unfiltered reactions, and the moment Kody realized the world wasn't buying his story anymore. This wasn't a reality show anymore. It was his reckoning, broadcast live for millions to see. The lights were bright, the stage spotless, and the tension so thick it felt like electricity humming in the air. TLC's so-called tell-all redemption special was filmed inside a closed studio in Phoenix, under tight secrecy. Kody Brown believed it was his moment to win back the public. But what he didn't know was that the network had changed the format, no script, no retakes, and most importantly, Janelle and Meri were watching live from backstage. The host, a calm, neutral interviewer handpicked by the producers, started simple. Kody, after everything that's happened, what do you want viewers to understand about you? Kody took a long breath, adjusting his jacket like a politician before a press conference. That I've been misunderstood, he said. People don't see what I've sacrificed for this family. They see edited moments and think I'm controlling, but I've carried the weight of 4 marriages and 18 kids. That's not easy. He paused dramatically, as if expecting sympathy applause. None came. Backstage, Janelle folded her arms, unimpressed. Meri just shook her head. The host continued, Kody, there are people, including your own daughters, who say they no longer trust you. How do you respond to that? Kody smirked, the familiar defensive grin fans knew too well. Kids grow up and get influenced. They hear stories from their moms and suddenly I'm the villain. I've made mistakes, but I'm not the monster the internet wants me to be. That's when the host pulled out the curveball question, one that TLC hadn't cleared with him in advance. Do you feel that you had a right to know about your daughter's pregnancy? Kody blinked. Of course I did. Any father does. It was a betrayal. The host didn't back down. A betrayal or a boundary? The question hung in the air. For the first time, Kody looked genuinely taken off guard. He started fumbling. She's my child. I was owed that information. Cut to backstage, Janelle leaned toward the monitor and muttered, "You were owed respect, not control." The host pressed again. "Some fans think your daughters are afraid to tell you things. Is that true?" Kody's face hardened. Afraid? They shouldn't be. I just expect respect. That's how families work. Meri whispered to Janelle, "That's how dictators work." Then came the moment that would change everything. The host said, "We have two people watching live who might see things differently." Kody's head snapped toward the side stage. His jaw tightened. Who? The host gestured to the screen behind him. The feed flickered on, and there they were, Janelle and Meri, seated together in the backstage studio, faces calm but serious. The audience, small, select, but live, gasped audibly. Kody's expression shifted from confidence to disbelief. "This wasn't part of the deal," he said. The host smiled slightly. "It's part of the truth." Meri spoke first, her voice firm but not cruel. "Kody, we're not here to attack you. We're here to hold you accountable." He crossed his arms. Accountable for what? Wanting to be a good father? Janelle leaned forward. For confusing control with love. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the crew stopped moving. Kody tried to recover, his tone rising. "You've all turned against me. You're teaming up, making me look like a villain." Janelle didn't flinch. "You don't need our help to look like one, Kody. You did that yourself." That single line, calm, unshaken, perfectly timed, became the most replayed clip of the entire episode. Kody stood up, ripping his mic off, muttering to producers, "I'm done. This is an ambush." He walked off stage, leaving the host sitting in stunned silence. TLC cut to a break, but the damage was done. Within minutes of the special airing, social media exploded. #KodyExposed began trending on X. Clips flooded TikTok with captions like "He finally got called out live" and "Janelle's mic drop of the decade." Even fans who'd once defended him were turning away. The narrative had shifted, permanently. For years, Kody had been the storyteller, the center of gravity around which the wives orbited. But after that broadcast, the power flipped. Janelle and Meri weren't just ex-wives anymore. They were truth-tellers. And in the days that followed, the fallout would reach far beyond TLC's control, because one person, quietly watching from a distance, decided to speak out next. Not a wife. Not a producer. But Kody's own daughter, the one who hid her pregnancy. Her interview would shake the internet to its core. 3 days after the tell-all aired, the internet was still on fire. Clips of Janelle's calm confrontation flooded every social media platform. Memes of Kody storming off the set were everywhere. But it wasn't until a quiet YouTube upload went live that the story took its next, and most devastating, turn. The video's title was simple, "My Truth, Why I Hid My Pregnancy." It wasn't posted by a gossip channel, or a fan account, or TLC. It came straight from Kody Brown's own daughter. No camera crew. No studio lighting. Just a woman sitting in a softly lit room, wearing a hoodie, her voice trembling, not from fear, but from release. She began softly. "I didn't make this to start drama. I made it because people deserve to know why." She took a deep breath. "When I found out I was pregnant, I wasn't scared of being a mom. I was scared of how my dad would react. Because in our family, love always came with conditions." The comment section began flooding in real time. Fans who'd followed her since childhood were stunned into silence. She continued, "I didn't want to turn my baby's life into another episode. I didn't want to explain myself to producers, or defend my choices to someone who made everything about loyalty." She looked off camera for a moment before adding quietly, "And I knew my mom, Janelle, would understand." She didn't judge. She didn't try to fix it. She just said, "You're safe." That was enough. The video was raw. Real. Heartbreaking. It stripped away the years of polished confessionals and glossy family narratives that TLC had built, revealing the emotional truth the cameras never showed. When I told Mom, she cried. When I told Aunt Meri, she cried too. But when I thought about telling Dad, I couldn't breathe. Because I knew he'd turn it into something about himself. Her voice cracked on the next line. He used to be my hero. But then he became the reason I stopped believing in family. The screen went quiet for a few seconds before she continued. I didn't hide the pregnancy because I was ashamed. I hid it because I wanted peace. And that's something I never had growing up, peace without performance. Viewers could hear the pain in her voice. She wasn't bitter. She wasn't vengeful. She was tired. And then, halfway through the video, she said something no one expected. When the baby was born, I almost called him. I had my phone in my hand. But then I remembered the last time I called, when I told him I'd moved out, and he told me I was making the biggest mistake of my life. He said, "You'll regret turning your back on your family." She paused, wiping a tear. He didn't realize I wasn't turning my back on family. I was walking away from control. That line became the quote of the year in the Sister Wives fandom. Within hours, the video hit 1 million views. Celeb blogs picked it up. Podcasts dissected every sentence. Fans flooded TLC's social pages with one message: let the daughters speak. Meanwhile, inside Flagstaff, Kody was livid. According to an insider, he texted multiple producers within an hour of the upload, "This is slander. You can't let her do this." But he couldn't stop it. Because for the first time, his daughter wasn't under contract. She wasn't tied to the show, the narrative, or him. She was free. And her freedom opened the door for others. Within days, other Brown children began liking posts, resharing quotes, and subtly showing support. The family silence that had protected Kody for years was over. The final blow came when Janelle commented under her daughter's video, "You told your truth beautifully. I'm proud of you." That single comment shattered any illusion that the family would ever reunite under Kody's control again. But behind the scenes, there was one more twist coming. Because while the world applauded Janelle and Meri's strength, and the daughter's bravery, Robyn Brown, Kody's last standing wife, was unraveling. According to sources, she was the one person Kody thought he could still rely on. But after the tell-all, after the leaks, after the backlash, even Robyn started to question everything. And in the next part, we'll reveal the secret conversation between Robyn and TLC executives that nearly ended the show for good, and the chilling thing she confessed about Kody that no one saw coming. For over a decade, Robyn Brown had been the last loyal soldier in Kody's collapsing empire. She defended him on camera, shielded him from criticism, and bore the brunt of public anger like a woman determined to protect the man she believed in. But after the tell-all, that belief began to crack. The day after Kody stormed off the stage, Robyn sat alone in her kitchen, scrolling through comments on her phone, thousands of them. Some were cruel. Most were just sad. Words like "wake up, Robyn" and "you're protecting a ghost" filled her feed. For the first time, she didn't delete them. She just stared, eyes red, silent. A source close to the family later revealed, Robyn wasn't angry, she was broken. She'd spent years defending him, and now she was realizing he might not have been defending her. That same week, TLC executives reached out. They wanted to schedule a private meeting with her, no cameras, no crew, just a discussion about the show's future. Robyn agreed. The meeting took place in a quiet corner of a Flagstaff hotel. According to insiders who later leaked details, what she said that day left everyone in the room stunned. Robyn began softly, her voice shaking. "I've always believed Kody was doing his best," she said. "I really did. But lately, I think his best has been about winning, not healing." The executive leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Robyn took a breath. "He's obsessed with control. Even when the cameras aren't rolling, he talks about how to spin things. He'll say, 'We can't look divided,' but then he's the one dividing us." She hesitated, then added quietly, "He's lost. I don't even think he knows who he's fighting anymore." The room fell silent. For years, TLC had portrayed Robyn as the enabler, the quiet accomplice in Kody's crusade for power. But now, she was peeling back the curtain from the inside. "I used to think keeping the family together was love," she continued. "But now I see it was fear. We were all afraid of losing our place, afraid of being cut off." Her voice cracked as she whispered, He made us believe obedience was devotion. One of the producers gently asked, "Do you still believe in plural marriage?" Robin looked down. "I believe in love. But what we had wasn't love anymore." It was the first time she had ever spoken those words to anyone outside the family. According to the source, Robin then said something that sent chills through the room. "Kody doesn't love any of us. He loves the version of himself we make him feel like." That statement hit harder than any public confession could. Because in that single sentence, Robin had described the heart of Kody's downfall, his addiction to being the hero in his own story. The executives sat in stunned silence. Finally, one asked, "Do you want to continue filming?" Robin hesitated. "I don't know. I feel like everything we built was based on lies, and now, I'm the last one holding the pieces." She wiped away a tear and added, "But maybe people need to see this. Maybe they need to see what it looks like when you stay too long." That line became the unofficial tagline for the next season of Sister Wives, The Reckoning. When Kody found out Robin had spoken to TLC without telling him, he was livid. He accused her of betrayal, the insider revealed. He said she'd joined the enemy. But Robin didn't yell back. She didn't cry this time. She just said, "Maybe the enemy is the truth." That was the moment Kody realized he was truly alone. No wives. No unity. No narrative to hide behind. Meanwhile, the rest of the family had quietly reconnected behind the scenes. Janelle, Meri, Christine, and several of the adult children had started meeting privately. It wasn't about filming, or drama, or revenge. It was about closure. They called it the healing circle. And as they gathered, without cameras, without producers, without Kody, something remarkable happened. For the first time in years, laughter filled the room again. It was awkward at first, like strangers relearning a language they used to speak fluently. But slowly, the walls came down. And during one of those private gatherings, Meri read aloud something that made everyone stop. A letter, written by the daughter who'd hidden her pregnancy. It wasn't a letter of anger. It was a letter of forgiveness. In the next part, we'll read that letter, the message that redefined what family meant for the Browns, and how it marked the beginning of the end for Kody's legacy. Because this wasn't just about reconciliation. It was about reclaiming the truth that Kody could never control again. The letter arrived folded neatly inside a small manila envelope, no return address, no signature on the front, just a single word written in blue ink, family. Meri was the first to open it. The paper was slightly crumpled, the handwriting soft but firm, the kind of letter written not in haste, but in healing. When the group gathered, Janelle, Christine, Meri, and a few of the adult kids, she took a deep breath and began to read it aloud. It started simply, "To the family that raised me, hurt me, and loved me, all at once." The room went quiet. For a long time, I thought distance was the only way to survive being a Brown. I thought silence was strength. But now I know that silence is what kept us all trapped. Meri's voice trembled slightly, but she continued. "When I found out I was pregnant, I wasn't hiding because I was afraid of being a mother. I was hiding because I didn't want my child to inherit the pain I grew up with, the fear of saying the wrong thing, of being on the wrong side of Dad's approval." The group shifted uneasily. Some wiped tears. Janelle pressed her hand to her chest. "I want you to know that I don't hate Dad. I don't even blame him anymore. Because when someone spends their whole life trying to be in charge, they forget how to be present. I just hope one day, he realizes that control isn't love." Meri's voice cracked there, but she kept reading. "Mom, you gave me the courage to choose peace over permission. Aunt Meri, you showed me that even after years of hurt, grace is possible. Aunt Christine, even though you were gone before all this, your example reminded me that walking away can sometimes be the most loving thing you do." Christine, who had been quiet until then, bowed her head, her eyes glistening. "I know our family isn't what it used to be. But maybe that's okay. Maybe it was never meant to stay the same. Maybe love is supposed to grow, not shrink to fit someone else's rules." The next paragraph was written with shakier handwriting, as if she had paused between each line. "I'm not asking anyone to pick sides. I just want peace. I want my baby to grow up knowing her family isn't perfect, but that it's honest. I want her to know that love doesn't have to be earned. It just has to be given freely." By now, no one in the room was holding back tears. If you read this to Dad, tell him I forgive him. But forgiveness doesn't mean reunion. It means I'm free now. And I hope, one day, he can be free too, from his pride, from his anger, from the story he's been stuck in. At the bottom of the page, one final line stood alone, written more boldly than the rest: families break in silence. They heal in truth. When Meri finished reading, there was no sound, just quiet sobs and the soft hum of the ceiling fan above them. Christine broke the silence first. "She's right," she said softly. "We spent so many years trying to keep the peace by pretending. And all it did was make us miserable." Janelle nodded. "This letter, it's what we needed. Not a reunion. Not revenge. Just release." And in that moment, something shifted. The weight that had hung over them for years, the guilt, the resentment, the exhaustion of constantly explaining their choices, finally began to lift. They weren't the sister wives anymore. They were women who had survived the same storm, and were finally stepping into sunlight. A few days later, Janelle made a decision. She wanted to share the letter publicly, not the full thing, just a few lines. She reached out to the daughter for permission. The daughter agreed. "Maybe it'll help someone else break free too," she said. Janelle posted an excerpt to her Instagram, accompanied by a quiet caption: "Sometimes healing begins when you stop defending what broke you." Within hours, the post exploded, hundreds of thousands of likes, thousands of comments. Fans called it the most powerful moment in the entire Sister Wives timeline. Meanwhile, Kody saw the post. Sources say he stared at it for a long time. He didn't comment. He didn't call anyone. He just sat in silence. For the first time, the man who had built his life around having the last word had nothing left to say. But silence doesn't mean surrender, not for Kody Brown. Because what he did next would prove that while his family was healing, he still couldn't let go of the one thing that had always driven him: control. And it would lead to one final act that no one, not even TLC, saw coming. For weeks, Kody Brown stayed quiet. No interviews. No public appearances. No YouTube rants or statements through sources close to the family. It was the longest silence fans had ever seen from him, and everyone wondered what was brewing behind closed doors. Then, suddenly, it happened. Late one evening, a 47-minute live stream appeared on Kody's official social media account. No fancy backdrop. No TLC crew. Just Kody in his office, staring straight into the camera, eyes tired, voice raw. He started slow. "I've seen what's been said. I've seen the videos. I've seen my family tearing me apart." He rubbed his face, visibly frustrated. "You can call it control, you can call it pride, but I called it leadership. I built this family from nothing. And now, everyone wants to pretend like I was the villain." He leaned closer to the camera. "I loved them. All of them. But you can't lead people who won't follow. You can't protect people who don't trust you." His tone was defensive at first, the same Kody fans had seen for years, but then something shifted. For the first time, he looked genuinely lost. "When I saw that letter," he said quietly, "the one they read on camera, I thought about how far we've fallen. I thought about the nights I spent building that dream in my head. And I realized, maybe I didn't build a family. Maybe I built a house of mirrors." He exhaled deeply, eyes glistening. "Every mirror showed me a version of myself I wanted to believe in: the good father, the strong husband, the faithful man. But when they all walked away, all the mirrors shattered. And now, all that's left is the man behind them." It was the closest thing to self-awareness Kody had ever shown. But then, almost as if he couldn't stand the vulnerability, he snapped back into defense. "I'm not the monster they make me out to be. Janelle, Meri, Christine, they all had their part in this. You can't keep blaming one man for everyone's choices." He stood up mid-live stream, pacing. "They think I'm alone now, but I'm not. I've still got people who believe in me. I've still got my truth." Then, he did something no one expected. He turned his anger toward TLC. "You want to talk about control? Talk about the network that edited my life to make me look like a fool. They showed my mistakes but never the sacrifices. They wanted drama, and I gave it to them. Now they're done with me." He paused, glaring into the lens. "You used me," he muttered. You used my family, my faith, my pain, and now you want to sell our healing too. For the first time, fans weren't seeing Kody the patriarch, they were seeing Kody the unraveling man. He ended the live stream abruptly, slamming the keyboard. The screen went black. Within hours, the video had millions of views. Some fans called it a meltdown. Others saw it as the confession he never meant to make. TLC quickly issued a statement distancing themselves from him, saying, "The opinions expressed by Mr. Brown do not reflect those of the network." Behind the scenes, however, there was chaos. Producers were furious. Robin was mortified. Janelle and Meri, they didn't even respond. But that night, in a twist of irony, something happened that no one, not even Kody, saw coming. The daughter who'd hidden her pregnancy posted again. This time, it was a short message on her Instagram story, white text on a black screen. Healing doesn't mean pretending the past didn't happen. It means you stop letting it control you. Fans immediately understood who that was directed at. It spread like wildfire across fan pages, TikToks, and Reddit threads. Within hours, #StopLettingItControlYou was trending across platforms. For years, Kody had been the one setting the tone, the one speaking first, the one deciding what was the truth. But now, the narrative belonged to everyone else. The wives. The children. The audience who'd watched them all grow, hurt, and finally, heal. As the family's silence grew, one final message came, not from a network, not from a tell-all, not even from a social post. It came from Meri, who released a short video titled "Peace After Chaos." She sat on her porch, no makeup, just sunlight and wind. "Sometimes peace isn't about who's left," she said softly. "It's about who stopped fighting." That video reached 10 million views in less than a week. Kody Brown's legacy was no longer written by him, it was written by the people he tried to control. But there was still one last chapter left to close, because while the world had moved on, Kody hadn't. And what he did next would finally force everyone, including himself, to face the truth. It was early morning in Flagstaff. The air was quiet, that eerie calm that comes right before change. For months, the Brown family had lived scattered, each person quietly rebuilding their life. Christine was thriving in Utah. Janelle had started a small business of her own. Meri was traveling more, running her retreat center, smiling in photos again. Only one person remained stuck in the past, Kody. Neighbors said they'd see him outside sometimes, walking the property line alone, his head down, mumbling to himself. The mansion that once symbolized his success now felt empty, the rooms echoing with a silence he couldn't escape. Then, one day, Kody made a call that would surprise everyone. He called Janelle. According to an insider, he didn't call to fight. He didn't call to justify himself. He just said, "Can we meet?" Reluctantly, Janelle agreed. They met at a small park on the outskirts of town, the same place they'd filmed a family picnic years ago, back when everything still looked perfect on TV. When Janelle arrived, Kody looked different. Not the manic energy fans were used to, just tired. He didn't start with anger. He started with truth. "I watched your interview," he said quietly. "And I saw what you said about control. I think you were right." Janelle nodded. She didn't interrupt. "I thought being the head of the family meant holding everything together," he continued. "But maybe I just held on too tight. I made everyone afraid to let go, including myself." There was no music, no dramatic camera angles, no edits. Just two people talking after years of war. Janelle looked at him and said softly, "You can't rebuild something that wasn't built on honesty." He nodded, tears welling. "I don't expect anyone to forgive me," he said. "But I needed to say it out loud. I messed up." For the first time in years, Kody's words weren't defensive. They were real. He went on, "When she hid the pregnancy, I thought it was betrayal. But now, I think it was protection. She was protecting herself from me, from what I'd become." That was the moment it all hit him. The years of pushing, demanding, controlling, it hadn't built a legacy. It had built a cage. Janelle simply said, "Then let this be the moment you stop fighting for control and start fighting for peace." They sat in silence for a long time, the wind moving softly through the trees. There was no reconciliation, no promises of reunion. But there was something new, acceptance. A few weeks later, the family gathered one final time, not for filming, not for drama, but for closure. It was a quiet memorial for a relative who had passed. And, shockingly, Kody showed up. He didn't speak much. He kept his distance. But toward the end, when everyone began sharing memories, Kody stepped forward. His voice cracked as he said, "I spent so many years trying to lead this family that I forgot how to listen to it. I can't change what's happened, but I hope one day you'll remember the good parts too." There were tears, not of reconciliation, but of release. After the service, Janelle walked over to him and simply said, "Thank you for coming." Meri nodded politely. Christine gave a small, distant smile. And the daughter, holding her baby, approached him quietly. She didn't say much. She just whispered, "You can meet her, if you want." Kody looked at the tiny child in her arms, eyes wide, innocent, unburdened by all the history between them. He smiled softly and said, "She's beautiful." That was it. No grand speeches. No apologies demanded. Just a moment, simple, human, unfiltered. Later that evening, Meri posted one final message to her followers. It wasn't cryptic or bitter. It was peaceful. Healing doesn't mean the past didn't happen. It means the future isn't controlled by it. Fans flooded the comments with support. After 15 years of chaos, the Brown story, or at least this chapter of it, had finally found its ending. No more courts. No more cameras. No more pretending. Just people, once broken, now healing, finally learning that family isn't about who leads. It's about who listens. And for the first time in the entire sister-wives saga, the truth didn't belong to Kody. It belonged to everyone else. This wasn't his show anymore. This was theirs. The end.